Today's fellow fasting foodie friend has been fasting about 9 months, and in that time, she's lost 25 pounds and is at her goal weight. She's a runner who started fasting to lose weight and to minimize injuries. Our guest is a 52-year-old nurse from Northeast Ohio, and it's her opinion that fasting is medical professionals' dirty little secret and that your doctor probably fasts too. Today's guest is Robin Mouck. Welcome, Robin.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so excited to have you here, fellow Midwestern.
Yeah. Actually, I lived in Kalamazoo probably 20 years ago. My gosh, I left 20 years ago.
That is crazy.
So I lived in, I think it was the Millwood neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. That's extremely close to me. I live in the Northeast Kalamazoo, so very close to Millwood.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love having that connection. And it's funny, we reach people all over the world. I just talked to someone overseas in the UK this morning, and I'm talking to someone that had lived in my hometown. So I think that's awesome, bringing people together.
Yeah.
So my first question of the day: are you fasting or are you in your eating window?
I am fasting. I'm only 13 hours into my fast. So I worked yesterday and I did not get to eat until late last night. So luckily I'm off today, so I can fast a little. I'll have to fast a little later today to get 18 hours in.
So as a nurse, do you do a typical, I think of nursing shifts as like 12-hour shifts? Is that accurate for you?
I do 4 10s instead of 3 12s. Hopefully we'll move back to a 3 12 situation, but because of the nursing shortage, they need us there 4 days a week. So I'm 4 10s at the moment. And they are long days. I start very early in the morning and end later in the day. And last night was a late night for me. So, and they just shift our schedule. So we kind of overlap a little bit. But eventually, if we get our staffing levels appropriate, we'll go back to 3 12s. But
one thing that I get questions on during my lives is people ask how to integrate. You said you do OMAD. How do you integrate longer shifts and maybe off a normal first shift? How do you integrate your OMAD schedule with your work schedule, if you don't mind talking about that?
Sure. So I'm lucky in that I work day shift only.
Okay.
I do not have to do any overnight. So if I had to do overnights, I don't know how I would do it if I had to work overnight. But day shift, I usually eat dinner. I get home from work. My family's already eaten by the time I get home from work. But then I will eat. I usually eat about an hour at the most. And then because then I typically have to go to bed and get up and do it all over again, which I don't really like eating right before I go to bed. I have vivid dreams when I eat right before bed.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I don't like to eat at work. Most of the time we are so busy, we don't have time to really eat. We snack. There's a lot of snacks available, but not a lot of good food snacks. So it's easier for me to just skip it and not eat any of the junk and just drink water, coffee, get through my day, and then come home and eat.
That's awesome. So you mentioned water and coffee. Does that mean, do you do pretty much a clean fast? Water, coffee, no flavors?
Water, coffee, no flavors. I do take some sparkling water, just plain unflavored sparkling water into work. But I go through them so fast that it's really, I get really hot and dry at work. Talking and, the hospital's dry. So I drink a ton of water and some coffee and then just eat only when I get home.
Okay. And how did you work to that about an hour eating window? How did you work to that schedule? Did you just jump right in or work your way there?
I built my way up there. So when I started fasting in May specifically to lose weight, to reduce my risk of injury, improve my running times, just like a whole litany of reasons to lose weight so that I can run better and stronger. So I quit running for about 10 weeks to focus on fasting. And I moved pretty slowly. It took me probably 6 or 8 weeks to get to an OMAD fasting schedule. But I just wanted to make sure it was right. I lost 10 pounds in those 8 weeks.
Wow.
And then once I got to OMAD, I actually kind of plateaued a little bit, but for about a month. And then I said, well, it's time for me to start running again. So I added back in my running. And then I very slowly have lost the other 15 pounds over the next 5 months, I guess. It took a long time for me to lose weight, to lose my 25-pound goal weight. But
okay, but you're now at your goal weight, and do you feel like you have to maintain running to maintain that, or it just helped in the process?
No, so running will not help you lose weight. And I do not run to lose weight. I run because it's fun and it keeps me from being a little kooky and crazy. I run because I enjoy it, basically.
I am that way with walking. People ask about if I work out, and I say, well, I walk, but I don't have a regimen, but I only do that for the mental health, to get away from the house, to be outside, to kind of be with my thoughts. So it's just something I really enjoy.
Right. Yeah. And walking is actually a very good exercise. If you can get your heart rate into that 90 to 110, which is it's a brisk walk, not a stroll, but definitely not a run, but you get into that, you get your heart rate up above 90 and you kind of accelerate the fat burning. Mm-hmm. And it's good. It's just good overall exercise. And there is a little bit of strength with walking. If you add a weight vest or you hold hand weights while you walk, it just adds that much more strength.
Yeah, I actually had a subscriber send me a vest because I had mentioned that I was looking for one, and she had one she wasn't using, and I put ankle weights on. I look kind of goofy, but and I do know that there's physical benefits, but the reason I do it is for the mental. I just enjoy the process, and that's the happy medium. That's why it's the only thing that I do on a regular basis is I really enjoy it, and I know it's good for me. So with the 10-week break for running, did you find that once you started running again, it was different because you were fasting? Did you find the improvements?
Yes. So my times went from, I was running about 10 to 10 and a half minute miles on average to under 9 minutes per mile.
Wow.
So, it's significant improvement in my running time. And I felt better. I prefer to run in a fasted state.
Okay.
So sometimes what I had been doing into the fall, I had been running right before I opened my window. So I would get back from my run, clean up, dry off, and then I would open my eating window. So I was replacing the sugar that I burned off during my run. My work schedule has changed since the fall, so now I have to run in the morning. It doesn't matter. I don't feel that hungry because I'm not hungry in the morning. So it doesn't change how my fasting at all. But my running is definitely improved. So I did suffer a pretty significant knee injury in October. So, and with that, I had to stop running, and then I've been rehabbing the knee, and I'm back to running a little bit in the morning. So it was my goal to lose weight to avoid injury, but
that's too bad. Ugh. Oh, wow. I do get the question, and since I'm not an avid exerciser, and running would never be on my list, I've never been a good runner. People ask, and it sounds like your answer to them would be very positive. Is there any issue working out or exercising while fasting?
No.
Do you have? Yeah.
No.
So you find whether you replenish right afterwards or go work an entire nurse's shift, you're able to supply the energy needs.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the fact that you go do an entire nurse's shift, that's pretty stressing in and of itself. And if you can continue to do that after a workout while fasting, that speaks volumes to me.
Right. Now, I don't know that I could do strength, like weightlifting, and then go and work. Usually when I do strength training, I need to eat pretty quickly after doing a weighted exercise. But running is, I don't feel that need after a run. So, and then my midweek runs are usually pretty short. It's my weekend runs. So when I have an opportunity to then eat, I'll do my long runs.
One thing you mentioned is the availability of snacks and food at work all the time.
Yes.
Did you face a lot of pressure from your coworkers, your peers, whether at work or anywhere, when you adopted the fasting lifestyle? Did they notice a shift? Any negative reactions or?
No. And honestly, I don't think anybody really noticed that much. When I took creamer out of my coffee, nobody really said anything. When I, passed by the donut tray or the bagels or, whatever junk food people bring in, when I just skip it, nobody really noticed. Nobody really said anything.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Nobody ever had, even when I've talked about fasting, and I've kind of mentioned it at work, because I'll notice the weight loss when I mention I'm doing intermittent fasting. Most of them, had no idea. And then they thought it was all because of the running that I was doing, that I had lost some weight. So, and then even when I brought it up, a lot of people said, I don't know that I could ever do it, but I know it's really popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know a lot of the doctors that I work with say, oh yeah, I don't eat in the morning because I'm not hungry. I go in and I work all day, and maybe I get lunch, but most of the time I don't get to eat again until dinner.
So they're practicing fasting whether they call themselves fasters or not.
Correct.
Yeah. My husband, he's very much the same way. He's not a faster, but most of the days he comes home without eating. And so, he just focuses on work, comes home, and he's not a faster is what he'll say, but he fasts a lot of the time.
Right.
So do you have any particular foods that you like to break your fast with? Any favorites?
Nuts. I like to break my fast with nuts, like almonds, peanuts, walnuts. I do like pepitas, but most of the time when I break my fast, it's with dinner. I'll just sit down and eat dinner. And that's usually some sort of meat. Most of the time it's chicken, and then rice or noodles, and then a lot of vegetables.
It's kind of nice. I'm a little envious that I enjoy eating dinner with my family, but having your own OMAD that you could do whatever you want every time would be really nice. Do you end your fast a certain way? Do you have a favorite, or is it pretty much just whatever you're having for dinner?
Just whatever I'm having for dinner. I had been before my job change, I had been opening my fast with, like I said, nuts, and then sometimes cottage cheese, a lot of avocados. But really it's kind of too much work for me to fix a snack, make dinner, and then eat dinner. Yeah. I just get to dinner.
Yep. I am that way often. Is if I break my fast, it's usually with pistachios or pepitas or cottage cheese. But a lot of times I just prefer to get to the dinner, enjoy the dinner. But you're not a sweets every day before you close your window?
Oh, no, I do tend to have a sweet. So cookie. I have a kid. And so of course then we have cookies in the house. We like to make cookies. Mm-hmm. And then she started doing these quick 5-minute microwave cookie in a bowl. My daughter loves to make those. So
we'll have to investigate making those homemade, because my daughter has gotten a couple in her stocking from my dad, and she really liked them, but we've never purchased them or made them homemade. But I think she'd really like that. We'll have to investigate that.
It was a recipe my daughter found on Pinterest and said she wanted to try it. So we tried it.
Yeah. That'd be fun. And I like things that are single serve, so you don't have the entire thing sitting there.
Right.
Do you have any early memory or meal, and it doesn't have to be but that as you were learning to do intermittent fasting, you thought, wow, I can do this for a long time, where it just really felt like this is a doable lifestyle?
I don't have any specific early memory like that. I knew that it's easy to do, especially around my work schedule. It just is an easy practice. I do have a specific event, right around Christmas time. We had a work-related party, and I had set my fast so that I could open it at the party. We get to the party and there was nothing there that I wanted to eat. Nothing. I wasn't anything I really felt like eating. So I didn't open my window. I didn't eat. I just drank water and went home and had dinner.
Isn't that kind of a powerful feeling?
Yeah.
You just feel so in control, and it's so different than in the past if I were dieting. Do you have a long history with diets, like to compare with fasting? Or
I've never been a dieter. I've never done Weight Watchers. Keto was never one of those things that works for me because I like too much fruit.
Okay. Yes, that wouldn't work well.
It would not work well for me. No, I've never been much of a dieter, but I would lose the weight and then I would struggle to keep the weight off. So I kind of bounced around the same 25 pounds for years.
Yeah, I always did Weight Watchers was my default, but I always would lose and gain 25 to 35 pounds. That was always my struggle. And I'd get to that point, I'd lose it. And I've just enjoyed the freedom of not having to do that. And it feels really nice to, if I were dieting and I went to that Christmas party, I can guarantee you, even if the food didn't look good, I'd feel left out if I chose not to eat because it would feel like a diet choice. But when it's just like, oh, it's not what I want to eat, there's a freedom in that choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Have you brought any people in your circle into the fasting lifestyle?
Yeah. So my fiance, who is also my running partner, has watched my running times improve dramatically, and he's watched me lose the weight that I wanted to lose. And he has since started fasting as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's only about a month into it, but he has he hasn't weighed in. Now he's got the diet brain. He did Weight Watchers. He loved Weight Watchers. He likes calculating his points and his caloric intake, but I don't know. So getting him into fasting, I think, has been a good thing, but he still has the diet brain. He still is thinking, I've got to start counting my calories and watching my points in order to, really lose the weight. But and then he was talking about his first weigh-in is going to be this week. And he was talking about going really skinny on his caloric intake on Thursday and then weigh in on Friday. I'm like, that's diet brain. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Just get on the scale. The number is what it is. Just get on the scale, weigh yourself, log it, and then move on. Move on with your day. It's not a big deal. So whether you lose weight or not. And
it definitely is something that's hard to shake that if you've been in that and to really rest in the fasting. And sometimes, there are a lot of people that in their eating window, they still choose restriction or to track things, and maybe it'll help them adjust. But I am with you. I like to focus on the fast, let that be what you're learning and getting used to. And then if changes are necessary, go for it. But what works for one doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
You had mentioned when we were corresponding over email and setting this up that you do about a 40-hour fast once or twice a week.
So you talked about your up day and down day. And so I played around with that way back in the beginning. I do find for me that on the down day, if I eat 500 calories, I want to eat more than that. So very, very quickly, like I did 1 or 2 down days with a 500 calorie meal, and it just didn't work for me. It's easier for me if I just fast through and not eat at all. So, and when I do those longer fasts, I do modify my exercise. So I'm not like toward the end of that 40-hour fast, I'm not trying to push it. Usually at the end of that 40-hour fast, I'm not exercising. I'm just, waiting to get to that 40-hour period, and then I can eat. So
did you do that as a way to hopefully lose more weight, or did you want to just experiment? What brought you to try that?
I hit a plateau. I lost the first 10 pounds pretty quickly, but then I plateaued for about a month. So I added that in to try to, stimulate a little bit more weight loss. And then I found that I really enjoy the 40-hour fast. So it's my I kind of look forward to doing them.
Isn't that crazy? Like, if you would have asked yourself in February of last year, would you look forward to not eating for 40 hours? Isn't it amazing that you look forward to that? Because I'm the same way. I like my down days. I look forward. I'm actually on one today. I'm doing a 36-hour fast. Probably will end up being a little longer. But I'm like excited. I had a really busy day, and I like to plan down days on busy days because it just one less thing to think of.
Right.
And then tomorrow I'll enjoy the up day. Do you enjoy your up days? Or I know some people kind of find them not their favorite.
I don't really enjoy them that much either.
Okay.
But I do, I will, so like this week I'll probably do a down day on Saturday and then an up day on Sunday. And then Sunday, of course, we've got, I think it's the football game, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yep. Super Bowl.
I think so we'll have a Super Bowl party. So I'll have the party to look forward to. But again, it's later in the evening, so I probably won't eat until later in the evening.
Is that how you approach your down days and up days? You kind of fit it into whatever your week has in store, so it's not every Monday and Thursday.
Right. Correct. Yes. I don't, it's very fluid and very flexible.
Yeah.
And that was, so I had early on in fasting, I have to be very rigid. I have to fast for these minimum hours and I cannot eat until after such a period of time. And then like this, you had mentioned once in one of your videos about, fasting is flexible. You don't be so rigid in your fast. And if you need to change it up, then change it up. If you have got a surprise brunch with friends, open your window, have brunch, then close it and move on with the rest of your life. It's not a big deal. And that was kind of like a game that was like June, early July. And it was a total game changer for me.
Oh, awesome. And I feel like it's hard until you start implementing the flexibility because it sounds so rigid and it sounds very restrictive. And then you think, well, how can it also be really flexible? And I think once people build that muscle and just start to, and I had a hard time at first too. I was very rigid, and my big flexibility moment, I was camping at my dad's house and there was a big breakfast and I had zero plans of eating and I wasn't to my 18-hour minimum, but it just felt very communal. I was meeting his wife's family. There was a bunch of kids and I just wanted to participate, and I just allowed myself to do it. And it was super easy to enjoy it and then get back. And I thought, okay, well, that didn't ruin anything. It just was a big mindset shift for me. And I think you kind of have to allow yourself to break what you think of as your necessary protocol to start realizing how flexible it is. And that's going to allow it to be long-term then.
Right.
Because if you feel rigid, you're going to burn out. So how do you handle social settings where others are eating? Is it difficult for you? Have you built fasting muscle that's easy?
Just like that party over that holiday party where I was planning on eating and then I got there and the food wasn't really worth eating. I make that determination. Is this worth breaking my fast for? Is this food something that I want to eat? A lot of times if when we do work-related parties now, we bring in food that we've prepared at home, and then we bring it in and share. So I'll bring in stuff that I know I can and or want to eat. Usually I make two, one for the family at home and one to bring into work. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't feel like eating today. Today is not an eat day. It's a fast day. And at work, it doesn't really seem to faze me. I haven't really been in a social situation where I felt like it's been an eating type of situation and I felt like I needed to eat. Again, I think people don't really notice, especially if you've got something in your hand, a glass of water or coffee or something. I don't think people notice that much.
Yeah, that's actually one of my big tips. If people ask me, I have tumblers, and I say, if you bring water, or you bring coffee and they see something in your hands, it's not gonna, and I agree with you. I really don't think people notice as much as we worry that they will. But if you're, sipping and talking and still part of whatever's going on, you're just going to blend in,
Right.
It's not going to stand out. But we're building a new school for my children, and I was on the board as like a parent, and everyone had Jets pizza, and everyone around me was like, why aren't you eating? So I felt, still even almost 3 years in, I felt a little odd, and I was like, oh, I just fast. And they were kind of giving me a hard time, but you just tell them, be honest. And it's not a big deal, but it can feel a little awkward, but it's you who really cares if you're eating or not.
Right. Exactly.
So are you vocal with others in your life that you fast, or just kind of if it gets brought up?
Only if it gets brought up. I did try and talk to my sister about it. As we're as older, we're 50, we're both 50 something. So, and as you're entering menopause, your ability to process calories changes. And you do add on layers of fat, and fasting is actually highly recommended for menopausal women, or perimenopausal women. That it's a kind of an easy way to prevent that sort of weight gain during menopause. She's not interested, so. But my brother also does his own without calling it fasting. But he does his own form of fasting. He eats breakfast and lunch, and then he doesn't eat the rest of the day.
Okay. Yep. Have you been on any vacations or holidays where you kind of break your normal schedule, or do you keep the same schedule?
Mm-hmm. We did. Well, we went on vacation, and I thought I would just skip breakfast every day and then eat lunch and dinner. But honestly, most of the time, that was over the summer, and most of the time I don't feel like eating. I'm going to just skip lunch. And lunch was leftovers from the night before, or deli sandwiches, or, it wasn't anything special. So why?
That's been my experience, except for when we went to Disney. I wanted to try all the foods all over Disney, but previous to that, we went to Tennessee, and I planned to eat lunch and dinner every day, but most of the time, I just find that I feel so good fasting that lunch wasn't really ever worth it. And I like that I have that power, I have that choice, the flexibility to kind of go off course if I want. But I have found kind of the same thing, that the more I'm fasting, most lunches really weren't worth having an extra meal for. But it's nice to have the options.
Right. Well, when we were on vacation, and that's, again, kind of back to that flexibility with fasting, I went to, while over vacation, one of the days we decided to have a big brunch. I ate then. That was my eat for that day.
Yeah.
And then just fasted the rest of the day. So, but, and I was not that hard during, I wasn't that rigid during vacation, because it was vacation, and we were so active during vacation that, it didn't really matter. I felt like I could eat more just because we were so busy and active, walking and swimming and what have you. So
that's awesome. You mentioned you have a daughter at home. Do you find it difficult to prepare foods or meals for her, or do you have any, like, I pack my lunch every day for my kids, and I get a lot of comments like, how do you prepare meals for your kids while you're fasting?
No, I don't. I did, again, early on, I struggled a little bit with inadvertently tasting foods and putting stuff in my mouth when I was trying to prepare. But I just meant to be more mindful. So, and my daughter's school has a very good lunch program, and they have a farm to table program. So they grow a lot of their food on the school farm, and then so I just pay for her to buy lunch at school.
Oh, that's nice.
It ends up being, they feed her better for $5 a day than I could buy, or than I could pack for her. So
that's an awesome option.
Yeah, and then she's old enough now that she can, if she wants, breakfast, she can fix it herself.
Oh, that's good. My two oldest are the same. And I do kind of to what you're saying, I feel like most people, it seems so overwhelming because of the amount of times you pop foods in your mouth. And I didn't realize how many Cheez-Its I ate at 6:30 in the morning. If I was putting it in lunch, like I would just pop one in my mouth or a cherry tomato.
Right.
And I think that stopping those habits have really helped me to be more mindful in my entire eating window. And also, I think it's just something you adapt to. Like it becomes, even if you are still making breakfast or lunch, you just get used to it.
Yeah. It takes a couple of weeks of, I just broke my fast. Doggone it.
Yeah.
I wanted 20 more minutes to get to that 20-hour mark or, whatever, 16-hour mark, whatever it is. Okay. Too bad, so sad.
Yep.
Move on. Next. It's not a big deal. So, and then my favorite thing to fix, like on the weekends, I'll prepare a lot of food, especially soup, so that we have something easy to heat and eat throughout the rest of the week. I spend a lot of time in a fasted state cooking, preparing meals for the rest of the week. So,
do you enjoy cooking and baking in a fasted state? Because I found that I really actually like that. You get the joy of the food without actually eating. Just a different way to enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah, I do. I don't mind it, I guess. It doesn't bother me, I guess is the way I should phrase it. I do have somebody taste my soups to make sure they're not either oversalted or not salted enough.
Yeah.
But other than that, but that was the one thing I was doing, tasting my soup. Is this too salty? But I've also learned kind of proportions, like how much salt is this soup going to need? Based on whatever ingredients I'm using. So.
Yep. And I use my 11-year-old. She's my taste tester. She's a really great palate, and she'll be like, no, you need more lemon juice and salt and pepper. And she takes a lot of pride in it now. So she's my seasoner.
Yeah, that's good. And then baking like during the Christmas holidays, I did struggle through the holidays a little bit with baking and then preparing the holiday meals, but I recovered and went on. Again, it's easy and flexible.
And perfection is not required.
That's right. Absolutely.
One question I get a lot, and especially with someone that has a short eating window, did you find that you struggled with overeating at the beginning when you started OMAD? Did you want to eat everything in sight?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And especially like if I would prepare a small snack, open my window with a small snack, and then wait an hour or so or a couple hours until dinner. I just struggled with it. It ended up becoming much easier if I would just fast through and then eat when it was time to eat.
I find the same thing. And basically my best advice for people is you will adjust and learn what feels best for you. But I don't think I've talked to someone that does OMAD that hasn't found that they struggled with that at first. Right. Because you just have to adjust and learn what feels good versus what doesn't. And I just like to ask that so that if someone new is listening, they see that it's not normal. You didn't just all of a sudden start OMAD and it was super easy to begin with.
No, you have to work up to it. And yes, when you first start fasting, all you're focusing is on the fast. Don't worry about what you're eating or how much you're eating when you open your eating window. Just worry about the fasting. And then over time, and truly it's amazing. Your palate does change. Like I want to eat, I do find that I prefer to eat a lot more meats and proteins. And I do know kind of empirically that opening your window with a protein is always better. And then closing it with the carbohydrate or the sugar after is kind of the way to go. Yeah.
It took me a long time to even consider starting with proteins, and I do feel like it makes a difference, but I mentally couldn't have made that shift at the beginning. Right to your point, I needed to learn to fast. Right. Thinking of everything at once is too overwhelming. Get good at fasting, and then you naturally shift. And if you want to make changes and you're curious about changes, you're in a space where you can at that point. Like you're not also trying to learn to fast.
Right.
So we are into the fast food, and I want to know, Robin, what is your favorite drink?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Black coffee. Yeah.
And what is your absolute favorite food?
Soup. Any kind of soup. Chicken noodle soup is probably my favorite.
Oh, that's funny. So soup is my favorite type of food. My bridal shower was soup, salad, and breadstick themed. But chicken noodle soup is my least favorite soup.
Oh, is it really?
Mm-hmm. It's my husband's favorite. I like creamy soups. So potato, we just had tomato soup last night. Broccoli cheese. Yep. But I'm with you. Soup is, I think in the Midwest, we have to have soup to get through winter. That's my opinion. Do you have any weird food combinations that you love?
Not really. No weird food combinations. I love pickles. So I will eat pickles all day long, or not all day long, but I will eat pickles with every meal.
Mm-hmm. But I love pickles too.
Yeah.
Actually, have you ever had pickles and peanut butter?
No. Is it good?
This question. My stepsister used to eat it, and I tried it, and it wasn't that bad. But I wondered if you had ever tried it, being a pickle lover. I don't eat it regularly, but it wasn't as horrible as it sounds.
Okay.
Do you have any controversial food opinions?
I do not like soda. I've never liked soda. I don't like it. I don't drink it. It doesn't taste, it tastes sour, like Coke and especially Coke, and then the diet versions of soda. Mm-hmm. It doesn't taste good. I
don't drink a lot of pop, but I do like it. So I can't agree with you on that one. Do you like pineapple on pizza? Does it belong there?
You know what? I've had and enjoyed like the Hawaiian pizza, the barbecue chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't bother me. It's not maybe my first choice, but I'm a traditional sausage, mushroom, tomato.
If you had one last meal, what would you choose your last meal to be?
A hamburger. I love cheeseburgers with everything: lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, mustard, French fries.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That sounds amazing. So you love that, and you don't want a soda to go with it. That just doesn't work in my brain.
No, I know. Now I'll have a chocolate shake to go with it. But.
Oh, okay. I'll join you on that. That sounds good. Those were our rapid fire questions. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring up before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. I mean, we talked about the exercise, which is kind of the important thing for me. And then just recognizing that exercise and fasting do work well together. You can make it work. You have to figure out what your body needs before and after an exercise. I like to exercise in a fasted state, but it's not the right thing for everybody. But you can absolutely fast and exercise at the same time.
That's awesome. And I really appreciate you coming on here today, sharing that encouragement, sharing your personal experience of fasting. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.